In the 24 hours since the FBI arrived at Mar-a-Lago, we have seen an angry, sometimes even violent reaction from the right. My next guest, member of Congress and former impeachment manager, has taken the time to respond to some of his colleagues, like House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who threatened Attorney General Merrick Garland in a statement last night. Congressman Eric Swalwell of California called out McCarthy on Twitter, quote, says current member refusing to cooperate with the January 6th committee investigation. And Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell of California joins me now. Congressman, what do you think largely about the right-wing reaction as a whole to the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago?
Good evening, Alicia. It's very clear that Republicans have recognized that they can no longer win elections with votes, and so they're leaning in hard to try and win elections with violence, and they're fomenting that violence right now with the threats they're making against the Attorney General, with the online chatter that you continue to see, with the failure to even condemn it on their side. And I see it in my own social media channels where the threats have escalated since Donald Trump's residence was searched. And this is who they are now. They are a chaos party. Chaos is arming to the teeth most Americans with AR-15s and letting our children live in fear. Chaos is January 6th. Chaos is government-mandated pregnancies. Chaos is forcing Americans to spend $14,000 a year on insulin to just own the libs. And chaos is the leaders of the party arguing that we need to defund the FBI. They don't want community. They want chaos. And that's what the fallout's going to be from this search.
I have to ask you, as a former manager for Donald Trump's second impeachment, how vulnerable do you think he is here?
Incredibly vulnerable, because this was a Donald Trump appointed FBI director, an independent judge that looked at the evidence. And by the way, Alicia, this crowd for years said, lock her up with respect to Hillary Clinton for what they thought were the mishandling of classified information. They wanted her to go to prison. All that happened here, if we're talking about classified information, is it looked like it was just taken out of his residence. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But if that's the worst thing that happens to Donald Trump, it seems like they're getting all worked up for a lot of things. But what's really concerning, and I think sad when you take a beat and step back, is that when we saw that Donald Trump's residence was searched, no one said, oh my God, that's the last thing I ever thought would happen. Instead, most Americans speculated over which crimes the president's residence was being searched for, which just kind of level sets you for what he has brought to America. And what we're seeing now with this search and the crescendo of accountability and justice is finally the rule of law seems to be prevailing, and the rule of cronyism, which we saw under Donald Trump, is in the rearview mirror.
Speaking of, Congressman, your reaction to the news tonight that the FBI has seized a cell phone belonging to your colleague, Republican Congressman Scott Perry.
It looks like this may have been the result of the work that the January 6th committee, a bipartisan committee that has been informed by almost entirely Republican witnesses, is doing. And Perry, from the evidence that we've seen, was part of an effort that Donald Trump was also a part of to try and overturn a election back in 2020, and that they were plotting a coup, that there was a plan to send fake electors to try and, trick, state legislatures, or to even have the Congress send back, the certified electors so that the states could resend new electors. And so, again, I trust this Attorney General. I trust Donald Trump's appointed FBI director. They know that Scott Perry and Donald Trump should be treated no worse than any other criminal defendant, but certainly no better. But this new take that we've seen from Elise Stefanik and Donald Trump and even Scott Perry in his statement today, how could they possibly have searched a member of Congress's phone, or how could they have gone to a former president's home? Or if they could do this to a former president, they could do this to anyone. They're kind of missing the point that they should do this to anyone if they have broken the law and there's probable cause. You're not above the law. You're not an elite. You're not untouchable. And so it's nice to see that the rule of law has returned.
Not only are they missing the point, you have the RNC actively trying to fundraise off of what happened yesterday. I do have to ask you sort of to this cornucopia of potential crimes. Today, a federal appeals court ruled that the House could get access to Donald Trump's tax returns. I understand there's going to be some legal back and forth there, but more broadly, your reaction to that decision?
Well, first and foremost, a consciousness of guilt from Donald Trump that he wouldn't turn them over, right? Why would he, after every president before him would turn them over? wouldn't do so. But again, this shows that Congress, the first branch of government, Article 1, is able to assert its subpoena power, and that subpoena power must mean something. So justice is coming, for the corrupt. And I am confident that when all is said and done, that the rule of law is going to prevail and that community is going to trump over chaos, which is where this MAGA Republican Party wants to take the country.
Congressman Eric Swalwell, as always, thank you so much.